Hello and welcome back to Pandemic Playground with Dave. Today we are going to continue the space survival adventure here in the alien planet to finish off the ship. Main thing we're going to do is make a hatch door airtight, which we figured out how to do so. Remove the back ship and also do a flight test. Alright, so when we experimented with the hinge hatch doors, I was able to think about a new design to make this hangar door connect and merge to make this thing airtight. One thing I didn't test was have a hinge on a hinge, which I'm going to test now with this hatch door to see if it works. I would think it works based on the comments that were left on that experiment of the hinge hatch doors. So we're going to give that a try. And what we're planning to do, of course, is remove this ship, make sure all the ice batteries has been drained into this big boy. And then we'll begin our flight test. But of course, the hinge hatch door is going to take some time to do, so please enjoy that time lapse. Alright, so that took quite some time, a little longer than expected, but I figured out the best way to make a hatch door for this ship. So that is the choice of using the piston and then a hinge block to the hatch door itself. So you see here I have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these setups so that it can open and close to make it airtight. And I can confirm that it does work, but before that I ran into a lot of issues making it with the hinge on top of a hinge, as you may have seen in the time lapse. So a hinge and a hinge does work and it can merge block into it and make it airtight. The biggest problem that I encounter is that it can't open. The door itself is just way too heavy to open it. And that is likely because the hinge block, it's a little bit more heavier than having it directly connected to the door itself. So a hinge on a hinge and then a door seems a bit quite heavy. However, with a hinge directly to the door, it works a lot better. So I use the piston as the anchor for the hinge block itself just to make it mergeable. So that seems to be the best way for this system. So yeah, and if I use a hinge on hinge or hinge on rotor, I would assume it's the same thing, where it's so heavy that it barely wants to pick it up. I made probably double the amount here, 8 hinges on hinges, and it still couldn't lift up the door itself. I messed with the torque, it's maxed it out, and then nothing will bring it back up for whatever reasons. So the other option that I tried was using a small hinge part with some landing gears, and for some reason that didn't work either. It may have been glitched down, and just maybe if I just killed everything and reset it, it would have worked fine. But oh wells, I decided to reset everything and make this piston one, and it works perfectly fine. So if you want to know how I set this up, I basically put down the piston blocks back here, so it's about 1, 2, 3 blocks back, and I extended it a little bit further, so that I extended to about a 2.4 max distance, and then attached the hinge block and then merged the rest together to have a nice door setup. And then from there, basically my buttons here, it's a lock and reset. The detach doesn't work anymore, so let me show you guys the door itself. So once we reverse the hinges, it should lock and merge in place, and it create a nice little seal. So right now it's not airtight, it's not oxygenated or pressurized. Now it's merged in, the seams here are all tight and nice. So we're just gonna go through here, this door, a newly created door of course, and back in here on the back side it's merged to this block and nothing else is touching. That's gonna be the way to do it. And if you want to see if it's being pressurized, here it is. It's a little bit slow, but I just need to add a little more air vents and some O2 generators if necessary. But it is slowly generating room pressure and it's being airtight. So finally, we got some success in building an airtight hatch door, which is perfect. It's a little bit of a similar design as before, not exactly the same. I do need to change the colors just a tiny bit, but I think I'm going to do that when I change the whole entire ships into a different color scheme at least. I'm thinking maybe I should reset it back to the white, blue, and gray, dark gray, like this one here, just to make it similar. So I'm going to figure out that color scheme, or if there's a better color scheme, I'll probably think of that also. Right, so up next, we're just going to have to transfer everything out of this here. Move the truck back a bit too, because we got all the ice out of it, I believe. I would hope so. A little bit of ice in the seat for whatever reasons. I can always grab that, no problem. And if anything, I would probably go take this big guy back to the ice lake, get some ice, because I don't think my whole entire ship is completely filled with ice yet. But I guess we'll see in a little bit. But right now, let's grind down the old ship, our old respawn ship. So we're gonna finally say our goodbyes. Alright, so our ship is all grinded down. Unfortunately, if you saw in the time-lapse, I had to grind it down by hand because the grinder ship lost all its batteries and it needed to recharge through uranium. So I just left it on the floor and then in the ship slowly, and then eventually it is now actually hanging right there. So that's gonna just keep on recharging and keep that ship. I did get rid of the welder ship, or the module part of it, just because I don't think I need it. I was gonna rebuild some other stuff anyways. So yeah, well, sayonara to the ship that I had, and now welcome, and finally we have the solo extremely big ship that honestly is way too big for myself. And of course we still have our truck as well, so that will stay there or come with us to go drill out some ice and some uranium, because this ship is going to need a lot of uranium to power up the batteries, the iron thrusters, and everything. Plus, I do want to add a whole bunch of ice in here because we are going to use a lot of it, to be honest. We have a whole bunch. We only have 3 hydrogen tanks, the large ones at least. And I think for the most part they are close to being filled. Not completely, but very close. So let's just get all these guys, all your hydrogen tanks, off a stockpile so we know how much we have now. So let's see. Right, so we off a stockpile. That's not even filled. That's barely filled. And that one is not even filled at all. And you have the ones here that are not filled whatsoever. So I guess we didn't have a lot of ice. So we definitely need to get more ice to get this thing going. I'm not too sure why it didn't fill up as much as I thought it would. But then again, I only had 2 hydrogen tanks. I did have a bit of ice, but wasn't too much. So that should be fine. What I want to do now, and like I said earlier, is a flight test. I mean, I know we don't have a lot of power, and I also need to make some sensors for these doors to automatically close and automatically open, but we'll deal with that in a little bit later. Right now, we just need to climb up all the way to the cockpit or our bridge, and we have our beautiful ship here. And we want to pretty much see if this thing flies. So what I need to do is look at the thrusters. There we go. We have iron thrusters, hydrogen thrusters, all lit up. I think the bottom ones are working. Yep. So everything's good to go. The last thing to do is get my gears, landing gears, to be grouped. We're going to group the landing gears that we have to switch lock, and I believe that would be all those down there. So if I look carefully, yep, that's all of them there. Okay, perfect. So it looks like the ship might not be able to fly because when I turn the gears off, it kind of fully extended. But let's just try that again in 3, 2, 1. Alright, so not too bad. Flying up is a bit heavy. I only have 26 hydrogen left, so I'm gonna have to land this guy pretty soon. It is hovering pretty hard right now. As you see here, it's kind of fully extending itself, the upward thrusters, so we definitely need to put more somehow. Or maybe not. I mean, it's very heavy here in Alien Planet, which is why it might be that way. But in terms of the flight test, upwards is a little slow. Sideways is surprisingly not too bad, as you see here. Forward, of course, is probably a lot quicker than it can be. And backwards, a little bit slow. Yeah, but it works out. I think it's pretty successful. The only thing I would worry about is the upward thrust. But if we're flying out of... Okay, so but if we're flying out of the planet to space, we can angle it towards the back, so we can use all those thrusters or the large thrusters to, you know, shoot out of it. And with the shield mod, that pretty much looks cool, as it showed there. Flight test completed, and seems to be somewhat of a success. Not 100% success because our upward thrusters is a little bit weak. I was thinking all the thrusters down here would be more than enough, but it's not. But again, if it's in space, it'll be perfectly fine. Here in a heavier atmosphere, it's going to be a little rough. So we could try to find some more space for some large hydrogen thrusters going upwards. And I mean, we can technically put some over here going down. So we're probably gonna have to add that sooner or later to get a nice upwards thrust. But again, I can always angle it this way and fly out of space. Coming down to a planet might be a little rough, so we might have to add a parachute as well, or multiple parachutes to be honest. But it's looking good. Honestly, what I wanted to do was have enough power so I can actually use this ship, grab the truck using the landing gears, go right into the ice lake so I can dig through the ice, load this thing up with more ice, and then load it up with some uranium. But that's gonna set us back because we only have like 25% of hydrogen, which I thought it would be a lot. We had a lot more. And traveling from here to, I think it was over there. Yep, right over there with 23, 25 left of hydrogen is not a good thing because it's definitely gonna drop and blow up with the ship, I would assume. Alright, so not too bad. We got our hatch doors complete. It's working. Everything's airtight, which is awesome. Took a very long time, but well worth it. We took quite some time also grinding down the ship to collect the parts. I still need to program a lot of things like the merge blocks here so I could disconnect at any given time. And I do wonder if I do disconnect these, how well does the main ship fly? Which it shouldn't be too bad. These things need to be decorated a little bit more because these are going to be kind of like my scout ships or my drop ships kind of situation. So if I want to go to a new planet and I don't want to bring the whole ship down, I'll just bring this guy down. So that was kind of the idea. It probably needs some weapons as well. I could probably do some additional designing and coloring, especially a color scheme for this guy. But so far so good with the ship. We can finally, you know, well, not yet, but once we load up the ship with some hydrogen and some uranium, we can finally move on with our space adventure and get out of the alien planet because we spent way too much time here and we still haven't built a space station in between the alien planet and its moon. So we're gonna have to do that sooner or later too. But I think what I want to do next with the ship is fly around, maybe do some contracts, some long distance contracts or something like that, and also find some new bases to kind of fight. And ultimately I do want to find one of those contracts or economy bases that sell ships and everything like that, so I can buy some because I do have 21 million SCs, which is probably not a lot, but it's a good amount of numbers that can so we could buy a few things and load up the hangar base, the hangar or the carrier of the ship, so we could put 6 more things here. The only thing I have there is that little rover that's not connected to anything, so I gotta find a good spot for that so that we don't have it blow things up inside the ship while we're flying it. But it looks like we're not gonna fly this guy anytime soon, so we need to get the truck loaded and get some more ice, and then we should be fine from there. I should be able to load it up to a certain point where I can pretty much fly the whole ship towards the ice base. So that way I don't have to, like, you know, keep trucking back and forth just to like load up the uranium, load up the ice. So that's probably going to be the idea here. But I'm going to slowly make it to the ice lake here and get some ice and come back with at least 2 cargos filled. Alright, we made it back. Luckily, I kind of remember the route that I took with the filled cargo. I mean, we do have a good number of ice, which we kind of filled probably 3 cargoes worth. No, 2 full cargoes worth, and a little bit on the 3rd one. I know I collected some stone and I still had some parts here, but I think that's going to be more than enough to get this thing started so we can fly a little bit. But the problem here is that I do not have a connector point right now where I can stick this connector point to. So I'm definitely going to have to figure that one out. I mean, I have one up here. I can just bring one down for now and hook it up there, and hopefully that will work out okay. Actually, I think that will work. Yeah, I'll just stick it out towards the back here, and then I'll have this connector hook onto that so we can transfer the ice. But on our way back, we did have a bit of an accident. We lost, I would say, the engine of the truck. So that was a bit of a pain, but I guess we could fix that up sooner or later. But it's not necessary to have that because this truck already has a good amount of power right now. But anyways, I'm going to call it an episode today because we did so much. We fixed the hangar door to make it airtight. We dismantled the old ship so we can get all the parts, and we did somewhat of a flight test which looked pretty good, except for an upward thrusting. But all in all, overall, a long day, successful day. So once we load up the ice, we should be able to fly. Definitely going to bring the truck over and start digging some more. So that way we have more ice, and also we're going to get and gather the uranium that's nearby. Alright, so thank you guys very much for watching this episode of the Space Survival Adventure. There's going to be a lot more to come, so hope you guys stay tuned for them as they come out on a weekly basis. And of course, as always, if you like this episode, hit that thumbs up, like the video, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, and of course, leave us some comments. Alright, so I'll see you guys next time. Bye.